All right, so that moves us to number 10 on our agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the August 21st, 2023 board meeting. Do I have a motion? Mr. Hogan.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the minutes of the August 21st, 2023 board meeting.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 6-0. And that moves us to number 11, public participation. Before I turn it over to Ms. Taylor, I'd like to read a statement. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures provided in board policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes and must remain on either the topic noted on your sign-in form or a listed agenda item. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance with board policy BEDH. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first speaker is Robert Thus to speak about a community use concern related to the application to use Irma High School band parking lot for the Jaguar Club event.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and trustees. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Rob Thus. I'm a member of the Jaguar Clubs of North America, which is a nonprofit, and we have a state club here in South Carolina, the Jaguar Society of South Carolina, and we're holding an event the end of the month that we call the International Jaguar Festival here in, decided to hold it in Irmo because we have a sister organization called the Coventry Foundation that has offices and a collection of historical cars and other information that's located on St. Andrews Road. And I lived in Irmo. I've had stepchildren who attended Crossroads and the middle school, Irmo High, and also Spring Hill. And my alter or companion here, George Camp, who I'd like to recognize, is also a member, and his child attended schools here. We're holding this event, and we're using Saluda Shoals, which we wanted to recognize as a forum for some of our events over the weekend. One of our events is a rally where we run a course around the country, and people get to, we call it a Monte Carlo rally, I won't go into it. And on Saturday, we're holding a concourse at Saluda Shoals Park. We wanted to recognize them and their facilities and what they do for the community. On Sunday, we plan to hold a slalom event, which is a tight, small course timed event. The course fits easily within a football field, and in the past, we have used the Irmo High band area to hold the event. I've discussed what we plan to do and proposed with Ward Bradley, your counsel. I've discussed it with him at length. He's been briefed. And Mr. Camp, on our behalf, did make an application to Irmo High, and we believe to your operations, and perhaps the superintendent was aware that we were asking to hold it there. It is ultimately a very, very safe event. We were told that there might be some thought that it was obviously dangerous, that the idea of characterizing it that way really offends us, and we would respectfully ask you to take another look and review that and change your decision and allow us to run the operation on Sunday morning, October 1st. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Emanuel is here to speak about curriculum.
Good evening. I am been subbing in the district now for the past 12 years, and there's a couple of things that are kind of obvious. When school boards across the nation are telling teachers what they cannot teach and what the students cannot learn, I want to do the opposite. There are a number of subjects that are going wanting. Time management. Many students come back to class with their homeworks partially done and not done at all. Many waste time in class doing everything except the assignment. The teacher or sub has to continually walk the room trying to motivate students to do the work. Number two, money management. Students are completely ignorant of savings account, compound interest, the relation of checking accounts to debit cards. They have no clue about the stock market and the bond market. More importantly, they don't know how to make change unless the machine tells them what to give back. And they don't know how to read their paychecks, which means they don't know anything about taxes as well. They don't know much about the voting and the political process. They must be able to differentiate between news and opinion, fact and propaganda. They have to be media literate. Some schools teach civics, but it's usually 1776 civics, not 20th century, and certainly not 21st century. They need to know why it's important to vote and what the process is, why there are primaries, who their senators and representatives are, and quite frankly, there are many in this room who could use the course as well. Newspapers and news in general. When I taught sociology the last 9 weeks at Irmo High School, only a handful of students had read a newspaper in the past 30 days. During one of my classes, we used 3 different newspapers to do sociology work and do, the entire newspaper sociology. In some classrooms, there are analog clocks on the wall. What's the point? These kids can't tell time unless it's digital. Ancestry. Many students have grandparents who could really enlighten the family with their own history, going back 2 or 3 generations past that. I missed out on mine. I had 2 great-grandmothers, and I was too young to realize what was going on. But there's medical history involved. There are some recessive genes that may have appeared back in the 1800s that are starting to come again. They need to know that too. Something must be done about cell phones in the classroom. The devices are the most disruptive things in class. You're constantly hearing pinging, or they're texting, or on some occasions, Mama's calling. And I've saved the best for last. In 3rd grade, students are taught to write in cursive, and that's the last time they're exposed to it. How are they supposed to sign a contract with an X? Or perhaps like you guys, right? You think maybe something that looks like the Nike swish is a signature? Obviously not. All right? That's.
Sir, your 3 minutes are up.
I know that, but I got 3 more lines.
Sir,
All right?
I'm sorry, sir. 3 minutes are up. It's not fair to other speakers sir, I would respectfully ask for you. Thank you. Sir. Thank you.
Stephanie DiMaggio is here to speak about Irmo tennis coach Mark DiMaggio forced to resign, so 10th grade exchange students are allowed to play tennis.
I'm Stephanie DiMaggio. My husband was a 7-year tennis coach at Irmo High. 14 seasons, both men's tennis and women's tennis. We decided this year, my son is a graduate of Irmo High. He's been gone for 5 years. We decided this year to host 2 exchange students, both in the 10th grade at Irmo High, and it's been a delight so far. The problem is, the first week of tennis, and they were participating on the tennis team as 10th graders on the women's tennis team this fall, he was told that they could not participate because they lived with the coach. That's the only thing he was told. And we have asked for reasons, we have asked for the documentation, we have asked for, did anybody appeal that so the girls could play on the tennis team? So the only option that my husband was given was you need to resign if you want the girls to play on the tennis team. And so my husband resigned after 7 years of being an excellent coach in the Irmo Tennis District. So I just want to mention that that's pretty sad to not allow cultural diversity of any kind, because the girls are having a blast, and they are playing tennis. I got a text just a few minutes ago. They're at Blythewood playing tennis tonight on the Irmo tennis team, and the two girls did play together as a doubles team, and they did win their one-set match. So they were very excited about that. Now, if my husband had continued to continued to coach tennis, they wouldn't have been able to play. So I think it's pretty sad that that's happened, and nobody's given us any reasons why he had to resign in order for these two exchange students in order to play tennis. So that's all I have to say. I hope somebody comes to their senses and looks into this in a little bit further and files an appeal like we've asked and like is supposed to be done, and helps my husband become reinstated as the Irmo tennis coach, because he does not want to quit. He's an excellent coach. The kids love him, the parents love him. But as a parent now of two exchange students, one from France and one from Germany, as a parent, we need to put them first. So in order to do that, my husband resigned as the District 5 Irmo High tennis coach. So please help him become reinstated, because he doesn't want to lose his job, but he needs to in order to get the girls to play tennis. Thank you.
Kim Murphy is here to speak about the sewer line.
Good evening. I'm going to say things from a different perspective, my perspective, to give you something to think about as you deliberate what appears to be the approval to allow a sewer easement and tie into the school sewer line and allow for a subdivision to be constructed across the street. For many years, District 5 has had a history of facilitating new subdivision development. District 5 has been building schools in rural areas where very few students reside, instead of in communities where students reside and where classroom space may be needed. The new sewer lines that are needed to serve new schools, which are costly to construct, are then used by subdivision developers. Building new schools in rural areas draws new families away from the communities. And the result of that is that we have schools in the communities that have space available for students. The new schools become free sales tools for developers at our cost. Look at the number of subdivisions that popped up in rural areas next to new schools: Dutch Fork High School, Dutch Fork Middle School, River Springs Elementary, Oak Point Elementary, Lake Murray Elementary, Piney Woods Elementary. These schools. Right now, the school district has expressed concern about the need for new schools and more classrooms, which is directly related to new school construction. District 5 has a drive to hold a bond referendum next year to request tax dollars to add on more capacity. Approval of the sewer line on the agenda tonight will result in you approving construction of at least, at a minimum, 100 houses on the cotton field right next door. You will be contributing to the problem that you say that concerns you. A problem that will be very costly to taxpayers and detracts from the rural areas. I request that you deny approval of the sewer line easement, allow the developer to seek sewer elsewhere. Don't be responsible for contributing to the problem. Thank you very much.
Danielle Gray is here to speak about Dutch Fork alumni.
I am having a problem hearing you guys speak, by the way, just so you know. Restart the clock? I was just letting them know. Are we good? Good. Can we restart the clock? I was just letting you know that we couldn't hear. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Ross. I'm betting there's not a whole lot I can say tonight that would sway anyone from the opinions and beliefs they already have. Given that, I have to take my chances that you and others watching might at least hear my words and try to understand. We've gone too far. We've become an angry, combative, divided, and unkind society. A place filled with keyboard warriors and people who hide behind sheets of white paper. We're stuck in a place almost absent of gratitude, understanding, and respect for one another with the same values we have in common. I was in that place. In this calendar year so far, my children have lost 4 friends and classmates to fatal car accidents. They've lost 1 adult to suicide. They've lost another young friend to a gunshot wound to the head at 15 years old, and another one to a drug overdose. They will most certainly lose their uncle, my biological brother sibling, to brain and kidney cancer. When I think about who my kids have lost, I think about how much I love them and how much more I could have loved them, and thank God I still have a chance to love them more. There's a person here tonight who's a Dutch Fork alumni, studied biochem engineering and went on to study social work, was a master violist at Dutch Fork High School, earned her gold award in Girl Scouts, the equivalent of the Eagle Scout, and is an accomplished artist. Nothing could have prepared me for who she is now. I could not have known. There were no warning signs or hints that there was anything off. She seemed fine. She went to prom and homecoming and dances. I was always an active parent, an involved parent, late night flashcards, parent-teacher conferences, performance, Girl Scout cookie mom, shuttled to viola lessons, ballet lessons, gymnastics, and everything in between. How could I have known what was to come? My daughter fell into a downward spiral of depression, self-harm, and became closed off and quiet. I knew there was a chance I was going to lose her. I prayed a lot. I lived in a mode of thinking that was encompassed by the returning question, how do I live without my daughter? I don't have to right now. I do love her, I do admire her. She is exactly what I believe God envisioned her to be. Against a whole lot of odds, she's brave, and she made it here tonight. I'd like to introduce my daughter as a Dutch Fork alumni and so much more. Please give her your applause for her endurance and survive to thrive. My daughter is gay and happily married to a transgender woman who is here tonight, and that's only relevant because I thought it would be to you. Thank you. Emma, please.
Is it coming in? Okay. I saw it flash yellow, so I was making sure.